What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah, CB myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set. Like recently, we've been going up like late Thursday and coming home like Monday afternoon. But I had to work late Thursday night, so we wound up not going up till like midday Friday, and then I had to teach today, so we came home last night. So it was like a 48-hour in and out kind of thing. So, I mean, there isn't a lot to even like, talk about there. We just hung out with her fam. It was really low key. There's not much to even say about it.
right. Well, hey, it's at least better than sitting around in Delco all weekend.
Yeah, but
so,
I mean,
at least you have a different scenery.
I mean, I can say that that's where I was when I found out about your situation. But like that, like I can let everyone know, like it was really cool that Anthony like lied to me to get me to not lied, but but he played his cards right to get me to video call him. He used his kid to his advantage.
yeah, because I figured it was gonna make it like, not that you probably would have thought something of it, but I don't usually just text you and say, hey, can you video chat for like 5 minutes, unless it was like not like necessarily an emergency, but like unless I had like something to like specifically show you, or I had giving you a heads up, hey, I might need to video chat with you for some reason at this point in time. I just don't randomly say, hey, video chat me like in 2 seconds now.
It's rare. Like when you did the gender reveal, pardon me, when you did the gender reveal and you caught us, like, I don't even remember if you said we want to share the gender. Like, I don't even know if you spelled it out like that or if you pulled some like this again. But
I forget what I did last time because I didn't have a kid last time to really shake it up with you.
Yeah, I don't remember how you did that.
So I forget how I
think you might have told me.
It was definitely a different time because we had the pandemic going on, and so we weren't really doing much. So I mean, it's not like we had a lot going on to really cloud our minds about.
Okay, so that's fair. You probably used because we were actually like video calling each other like just at random whenever, because like I think a lot of people did that because we weren't really going out and seeing each other. So I would put money on it that's what you did, and I didn't think anything of it because I was just like, okay, sure, like we're all doing this with like random, not random, not that you're random, but like we're just doing this at random anyway, whatever. So I don't think I thought anything of it, and I'm pretty sure that that's how that played out that time. Because I can't remember life being normal around us and you just being like, hey, want a video call? Because we just generally don't, except for this, obviously, at this point.
Yeah, and we weren't even doing this like at the time. The podcast wasn't even a thing or a thought at that point. So we were just kind of, just still chatting through Facebook Messenger and everything, just like we usually do.
So when you video called me to do the gender reveal, was that like maybe April or May before Lil Tone was born in August? Because it was like 6 months in, right?
It had to have been around, it was around the 20-week mark. So I'd say, somewhere around like the March, April-ish time.
March.
Well, no, it couldn't have been. It had to be, trying to think.
Yeah, because
we announced in January, and that was around 12. So I guess maybe like March time or something.
Okay, so I mean,
March, April.
Everything closed down. Like I think March 13th. It was a Friday the 13th when like the world shut down, right? So I feel like the video call for
it was insane.
I feel like the video call for the gender reveal, I don't think you told me like that. I don't think you like gave me the heads up. Like, hey, I want to video call you because we're gonna let you. Like, I don't think you let in with that out. I think you were just like, you know, when are you free? Are you free at all? Like today, this evening? And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. So, yeah, that was facilitated pretty easily. I was just glad, because I was up in the mountains again this weekend, and you and you can tell me if you thought that like because you were like, oh, bring your microphone and your stuff in case if we do like a Patreon with the four of us. And like I literally had my microphone and my tripod upstairs and my camera. Like I had everything like up next to the bag, and it was very much like we were going to get on the road early in the morning. I had to do an oil change on my car. And by the time I got done doing that and I showered and we were like packing up it, and then all of a sudden, we decided like, okay, we don't have to get on the road immediately. So like where my mind was like, okay, what do we need? 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 By the time, not me who decided, sorry, throwing my partner here under the bus, was like, who had initially said, all right, well, if we leave by 3, like, we'll get up there by like, 7 or 8 or whatever. And I was like, okay. So like, I was just chilling out for a while. I didn't sleep well the night before. So I was just relaxing. And then all of a sudden it was like 12:45 and she decided, oh, we should get on the road around 2. And I'm like, I'm not like super fast. Like everyone knows that I like take my time and I'm a slow mover kind of thing. Late for everything. I know it. I get it. Own it. But I was moving quick, and I was moving quick to the point where like this happened to me the last time we went away, where it was like I was grabbing everything, putting it in a car like sequentially because we put the dog in the back seat. Like you don't want stuff toppling over on him, so it's got to like fit perfectly. The good thing is, we took my car, which has like a trunk space in the back, rather than her truck is just like the back seat. It's a nice size back seat, but we have to put everything in there. Whereas with the car, I can put things in the trunk and then just put like some of the items in the back seat where it's like, hey, if we want to just reach back, if we need it, it's right there. And it's better for the dog. But anyway.
Yeah.
I was like stressed running around, and I was starting to get irritated because I don't like to move quickly because I thought I had it until 3. And then she said, we should push for 2.
Yeah, let's make things more stressful. Okay, great.
To the point where like I was like about ready, and I was like, I think I might want to shower. And then I was like, I'm going to shower and because it was, so the last episode that we recorded, we were talking about how it didn't really feel like summer. It was feeling like summer the day that we were getting ready to leave. It was like 92 degrees easy. I had to get up early to do the oil change on my car, not because we wanted to get on the road early, but because it was going to be 80, 85 degrees by 10 a.m. So I was like, okay, if I start at 8 and I'm done, oil changes don't take that long if you're experienced, but I've only done it independently on my own like a handful of times. And when you do only every 6 months, you have to like reteach yourself the process. If you're...
Yeah, I've never done any of that.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it seems...
I know it's not that complicated. It's one of the less complicated things to do on a car, I would believe. Again, I am not a novice car person, but I know, like, other than, just changing out certain small things, but like when it comes to being under the hood and doing stuff, like I think the oil change is probably like one of the like more easier things that you can do by yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
but I've never done it.
And I had done it with my dad maybe a dozen times, but again, when it's only every 6 months, or they recommend 3,000 to 5,000 miles, he does like 5 to 7, whatever.
Right.
But like, if I'm not there with him every time, and it's on different cars, because every car has a different setup. Like my car, it's easy. You jack it up, you get under there. There's like a guardrail to remove to get to the filter and the drain plug itself, and then you just, you take the filter off, you take the drain plug off, you let the old oil, dispense, put the drain plug back on, put the new filter in after you lubricate and that was fine. You drop the car back down onto the ground, you pour the new oil in. That's essentially it. Now there's like the setup of like that takes time to get under there. If you don't have like, for someone that says, oh, it doesn't take that long, we don't have like ramps to drive up onto. We don't have like a lift like some people have. Like, no, we have like the little simple jack. So like when you're under the car on the concrete in the driveway, because our garage bay is just like full of stuff. So yeah, it's just a simple car jack. And like I'm laying under there and I'm already feeling like it's 100 degrees. I'm sweating. It's gross. And I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, I hate feeling hot, though, is the thing. Like, I just hate the heat. Like, I had it arranged before where I was doing it like in November and April. And I was like, perfect. It got away from me. I'm a little behind on it. And I kept telling myself, I need to get it done before it gets too hot outside. And I just kept putting it off. So it's my own damn fault. And I know that. But I knew I was traveling 200 miles one way. And it had been close to 10,000 miles. And I was like, yeah, I can't do this. It's pushing it. But yeah, anyway, ran around, did the pack thing. And I just threw on bathing suit real quick, jumped in the pool, got out, dried myself off, got redressed. Sorry. And then was like, all right, let's get on the road. And she was like, are you all right? You seem like really bent out of shape. I was like, no, I thought I had more time. So I started racing around like a maniac. But yeah, this is why I like to leave at nights where like my days already happened. I'm already packed. Everything is together. I know in my mind we're going now. Like if we leave at 6, we'll get there. We'll get there at 10. It's the end of the day. I don't like leaving early in the day because one, I'm not a morning person. Like my body isn't used to moving until early afternoon. And when I say moving, I mean like really up and moving, and my brain's working because I'm like foggy until noon, and then I'm alert until 2 a.m. So at least. Anyway. Wow, I just talked like
even with the kid, I'm still not a morning person.
I believe it.
That's where we're both the same. Like I've never been a morning person. Even with a kid, I'm still not a morning person. Jen has been the morning person ever since we've known each other. She's usually been like going to sleep early, and I'm the night owl. She'll wake up early. I'm sleeping in. And, there's obviously times where I'm just like, all right, got to get up because, he's doing something. I got to get him to do something. But sometimes, she'll just be like, all right, I know you're not going to get up. So I'll take him downstairs and, they'll come up in like another hour and wake me up. Because, I had a gig this past Friday. And so I woke up around like he's been waking up at like 5:30 in the morning. So lucky for us, like he'll just come in and he'll come in and he'll sleep in between us every once in a while. Then there's times where he won't sleep and he'll just want to ask for the TV, and we'll put on the TV because he'll just watch the TV while we're kind of coming in and out of sleep. but then, he'll want to go downstairs. So then, she just let me sleep while, because she knew I wasn't getting up anyway, because I didn't get in until late on Friday. But, yeah, it's what they usually say, like, you're usually forced into being a morning person when you have kids. It's been forced on me, but it's still not making me a morning person. I will never be a morning person. I'll always be that night owl that and people have always been getting on me about, like, well, you got to get your rest and you got to, do this and that. I'm like, well, it's not like at night I'm twiddling my thumbs and everything. I'm actually doing work for myself, because sometimes it's just the only time that I get to, do things outside of the, Family Guy type of stuff. So it's the only time that I get to, do music or do this or do that. So.
I mean, there are so many factors into, like, I can't even spell them out, because sometimes it doesn't even make sense. And I think it's just a matter of, like, if your diet is consistent, if your physical activity is consistent, which, like, neither of those are consistent for me. So, like, my sleep rest is not, like, it's never the same. So when I wake up in the morning, I can have great sleep, but if I was, like, real sedentary, when I say real, I mean, like, way more than normal, and if I'm not eating as great as I normally would, um, then I feel like not great, right? But, like,
Yeah.
other times it's like, if I am in a really active, consistent mode and I am eating generally really, really well, I could steadily get 6 hours of sleep on a regular basis. And I, like, if someone said, hey, you need to be up at 5 in the morning, I'll be like, okay, and I'll be fine. It's when I do the other thing that I mentioned previously, where it's like, if someone said I have to be up at 5, I'll be like, all right. But, like, just fair warning, if
And if you're
I'm
not ready for it, then then it's like, okay, all right, now I got to, like, reprogram everything. And when you had
well,
in your mind, they're like, okay, I have enough time to do this, this, and that. But then when somebody tells you within a couple hours, oh, you got to just reset everything, like, okay, now I got to reset everything in my mind. Yeah, I hate that.
I am just no holds barred anymore, like, grumpy, and everyone knows it. Whereas I used to be fairly, and maybe this is just coming with age for me, because I'm closer to 40 than I am 30, right? So, and anyone with kids or multiple kids will probably say, wow, this guy is real whack. I think it's probably because I don't have that responsibility and that obligation, that it's like, oh, man. But it's like I just said, I know if I take good care of myself, if I am consistently active, if I am consistently eating well. So I, like, try not to be grumpy, but I, like, everyone knows, like, they'll say, you okay? And I'm like, barely slept. Like, I'll message you regularly. Like, if I don't sleep, I'm like, I slept awful last night. And I'm like, and when I don't sleep awful and I feel terrible, I'm anxious about work, because I know I'm not going to perform at my best. It's like Tom and I know this is not the first time we've talked about this, but Tom and Bert have talked about, and Tom especially was like, I think the biggest quality of life is getting really decent sleep, because you just function better the next day. I just do want to give Jen a shout out for allowing you to sleep in and not forcing you to get up, unless if she needs the help. I'm sure if she needs the help and she needs the help, you're not gonna be like, take care of it yourself, shut up, leave me alone. Like, you're not that kind of person. You'll be like,
I'm
all
not a
right,
total
whoopsie.
like, oh, I mean, you're gonna take care of the kid. I gotta work, but but no, I mean, she is a hell of a player, because like anybody says, like, it has to be a team to be like, I mean, but she is just a awesome mom through and through. This is I just think this is what she was meant to do. She loves being a mom. She loves, she eats, breathes, sleeps, just, taking care of him. And that, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That's just what she loves to do. She doesn't think about anything else. Like, and she couldn't even think about doing anything else but, doing, working for the daycare, taking care of kids, and being a mom. That's just her, and she is, I'm just giving her the shout out that she deserves. She's,
Of course.
been awesome. And knowing that the fact that she is going through this process all over again, uh, it's definitely a little bit different this time around because she's having a lot more pregnancy symptoms this time around. She wasn't as like, she didn't really have as much sickness last time, where this time she is like having a lot more like nauseous days and days where she's like, okay, I'm definitely feeling it today. And, so, and they always say like the second time is a lot different than what the first time is. And, I guess, in my scientific brain, when I think of that, it's like, your body already in the second time coming around, your body already knows a lot of the processes of going through that stuff again. So it's like, okay, now we know what your body's going to go through. We've done this again. We've done this before. So this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. But she is a trooper.
Yeah. I mean, and I have not read up on like any of the stuff, so I am strictly speculating here. They say our and maybe you know a little bit more about this because biology. They say our bodies change, like our hormones and stuff change, like on average, like every 7 years. So if we go back, if we go back 3 years now to when Jen was pregnant with Lil Tone, she would have been 33 because she's 36 now, right?
Yeah, like 32, 30. Yeah, so like 32, 33.
So if she's going through it now and she is 36, like, and maybe the first pregnancy actually did change like a lot of the hormones, so that's making the second pregnancy a little bit different on her end, right? Just shot in the dark here.
And
just
we're all in
guess.
like different situations, it's like different situations. Just like you were saying, we just from being parents, your diet is not always consistent because you're worrying about making sure he's eating. I mean, he eats better than we do. So, it's like we're usually just, the ones scrapping on whatever. And, so the diet's been a little different. You're active, but not as active because there's times where he's like, I just don't feel like doing anything. We'll just, let him blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, and then plus being older, so your body, it takes a toll on your body with everything. But just like we say, I mean, this will probably be like a whole women empowerment episode for us. But yeah, I mean, the things that they can withstand for their body, and knowing that and I'm not going to get gross or anything about this, but knowing that I've witnessed
Got it.
in the hospital, a childbirth, they are, I would not be able to go through what she did that day. It was incredible. Then it definitely showed me how much strength that woman can go through, and how much pain a woman can endure to and I don't think I'm pretty strong, but that's a lot of strength for a woman to go through and be able to do that. And for women that have multiple kids, hey, hats are off to you.
Yeah, I mean, my brain just went to like another place, and I was like, I definitely don't want to get into that. And no, I want it to be a little bit more uplifting. If I want to talk about like my mom and I almost dying during like my birth, that's a different thing. That was just like yeah, that's for another time. Like we're celebrating here, right? So I
Yeah,
agree because
but
my
no, I
mom
mean,
had
like,
my
I
mom
mean
had.
that not even. Sorry.
I think that was just a lag interference right there. I was just gonna say like my mom had four, and like
Mm-hmm.
all of her labors were super different. So
Uh-huh.
nobody else almost died like her and I did. Which I mean, I'm being a little selfish here, but I'm kind of glad that we didn't. um, but
No, but
um,
hey, I mean, that's not that it's common, but it's, it's something that you always have to worry about because you're, losing a lot of blood at that time. It can potentially have, there's been times where women unfortunately, pass because of it, because their bodies just can't handle it sometimes. And you got to think, before, years and hundreds of years ago, uh, most of the time the women wouldn't even make it through it because they didn't have the medicine we have today, to be able to go through that. But so I'm glad we're both glad that
yes,
you both are here.
yeah, and I mean, selflessly, I would say if one of us had to go, I would prefer it were me because my mom had already had my two older sisters. Like I would never have wanted me to survive over my mom, and then my dad have to raise the three of us on his own while he was the one just out like working all the time, and she was the one at home taking care of us.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who would have raised us at that point, and I probably wouldn't be who I
Right.
100% wouldn't be who I am today. I shouldn't even say probably. But all of the things that make me me would have absolutely been compromised from the get-go if that were the case, right? So I was what they call a stargazer. Like I was facing up, but you're supposed to be rotated the other way. So
Gotcha.
there was a problem delivering me because I was not turned the right way. And my mom was
Gotcha.
my mom was in, I don't know if it was a timing matter or because I was ready to come out, that they couldn't give her an epidural to like help ease the pain.
Okay.
So uh she was struggling. She was struggling, man. She was
Yeah.
in labor for 26 hours with me. So I don't know how long Jen
Wow.
was in for with Lil
Wow.
Tone, but yeah, she went in the night of the 25th of February around like 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and then I wasn't born until 1 a.m. on the 27th. So she was in labor all day through the 26th.
Jeez.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I
we
was
went into the hospital that morning, like, uh, because like I said, Jen was in Jersey that morning, and then she came back, and then we went to the hospital. I think we didn't get to the hospital till about 10:30, and
I
then,
still remember this story. It's so good.
yep. And then, we were, because she wasn't thinking that, both of us didn't think we were going to be having him that day. She thought it was like, oh, okay, maybe it just, because we had just had an appointment that Friday, and we were expecting to start um quarantining ourselves, because at the time, pandemic, they were suggesting that we quarantine for 2 weeks before the due date, just so nobody gets COVID, because if I got COVID or if she got COVID, I mean, obviously she would have been there, but I wouldn't have been able to see my son be born. So we just
Right.
said, hey, we were right at that time. I think that Monday we were going to start quarantining, and she came in, and we went to the hospital, and they were like, yep, you're ready to go. And I'm like, oh my god. At that point I was
Well,
sobered up. So we've told the story on the pod before.
yeah, but it's still fun. It's still fun to quick recap that you were having one little last hurrah the night before with me and two of our other good friends at the time.
Uh-huh.
Because that was That was like 3 weeks before the
and
due
not
date.
even
So we were
24
like,
hours
this
later,
is
I'm
it,
in the
'cause then
hospital.
he's going away. Yeah, with a son born,
I mean,
by the
because
way.
we thought, okay, 36 weeks. There, I mean, at least I knew. At least I knew. I mean, I'm not. It's not like it was like the week before or something. I'm like, all right, the month, the beginning of the month, good, we'll be fine and everything. Next day, I was in the hospital, and she was, things didn't really start getting like really, really serious until like midday, and then she started, really. She only was really pushing for like 2 hours, and then he was good. So and then once he was out, you know everything changed. Like you say, it just like clicks in you.
Of course.
And that's what everybody had told me, like it'll just click in you for a sec, because I was really worried, because I don't like, you and me are the same, like we don't really like do the whole kid thing or baby thing. I've never been that type of person. I'll be like, yeah, that's cool, baby, all right, but I'm okay, bye. But when he was born, all that came out of me, and like I was just like, it's like I knew what to do. It was so crazy, and I
paternal instinct.
Once we had it, yeah, exactly. And then once we had him home, after 2 days of being in the hospital, I think maybe within that first week, I had my first anxiety attack. Because it was so weird, because you can read so many baby books, but it won't tell you what to do when that baby is born. You just go off of instinct. Like, you can read until you're you know every little thing, but you don't know anything until they're born. And I was just started getting like a panic attack, because I couldn't fall asleep, because I was so worried he was gonna pass in his sleep or something, because I started reading about like the SIDS and everything, and how sometimes the babies will just stop breathing for a few minutes, and they'll start breathing again. I'm like, what if we're sleeping and he's not breathing? We're not gonna be able to. And like, I literally had like a panic attack. Like, I did not want to go to sleep, because I was so afraid he was going to stop breathing, and we weren't going to be able to like know he was doing that. And I think I was like that for almost 24 hours. It was so weird. I've never had a panic attack like that, where I was like literally shaking, like I could not control it. And she had to literally calm me down.
Yeah, well, I mean, I obviously I can't speak to it, because I don't have any little ones of my own like that. But yeah, I mean, there are times where it's just kind of like, what if so and so dies in her sleep overnight, and like you're not there to save them, kind of thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, when you have an infant like that's not even a week old, and you should be just staring over them like, you good? You good? You good?
That's what I was literally doing. Like,
I
every 5 seconds, like any little noise they made, any little noise, we're like, it was insane.
Yeah. It'll be curious to see if you're a little bit more relaxed this time around.
Yeah, I would like to hope I'll probably be a little more relaxed, but we'll see. I don't know. I'll let you know. I'll text you at like 2 o'clock in the morning, probably. I'm having a panic attack again.
I'll it's happening again. I can't take it.
It's happening again. Press record.
I think that's the episode title. Yeah, I am writing in pen instead of texting, because sometimes I feel like that's better. Plus, we're on our phones more than we should be anyway, right?
And you can usually write. You can usually write better than you can you not write better, but you can write faster than what you can text sometimes too. So,
well, it just depends on like if, because I do like the swipe text thing. I have been for like at least 5, maybe 10 years, where you just trace.
I've been doing that too. Yeah.
I mean, it's been with Androids for like a decade. So once it came out and I was like, whoa, this is so fast. Like I've been using it, but if you trace the word and it gets it wrong and you're just like backspacing, it's almost like I should just be writing this out or just, but sometimes you don't have 2 thumbs to type because that's, I think that's what a lot of people are used to, just go da 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 da. For me, I just like index finger and it auto spaces to the next one. So many people were so used to doing like release, the BlackBerry phones. Release. Okay.
Yeah, because when you had like the BlackBerry phones and everything, you used to doing the whole thing like that.
Well, it's funny you mention that. The BlackBerry Pearl, they tried to like change the game and do 2 letters per key, and nobody knew what to do with it. And then like soon after that, the touchscreen started becoming like, yeah, we're replacing touch keys entirely. I think I had one of the last phones that had a slide out QWERTY keyboard, where I could slide the screen and just type this way. I love that phone too. Like I thought it was so cool. It was like it was like a Microsoft based phone. Like I had like Windows on my phone. I was like, this is like a computer. It was like pretty neat. But then after that, I think I got a Motorola.
It's almost like a mini
Droid
laptop in
X.
your phone.
yeah. And then it, like from then on, it was just full blown touchscreen. And it's weird to think like a lot of people were like trying to avoid it. Like my dad even, my dad was avoiding getting a phone that was full blown touchscreen, and now he has an iPhone for work and an iPhone, like a personal iPhone, and it's just what he knows. And I think the big thing with him was like we used to get like the Daily Times like morning newspaper. He canceled that because he's like, I'm just like everything you need to know about everything is right here. I don't know how
still get the newspaper.
I don't know how the newspaper companies,
because now he'll do it on the iPad. I don't either. I do not know how they're still in business, but obviously people are still older generation are still buying newspapers. But yeah, I mean, once my dad was able to start getting his newspaper, articles and stuff on the iPads and stuff, I mean, he didn't really do much of the newspapers, but I think he still does them every once in a while. But yeah, most of his things, if it's not on the TV, if it's not on like the iPad or something on his computer, that's where he gets a lot of his news now.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to acknowledge that maybe he's doing it from like an old school perspective of like, hey, in 10, 20, 30 years from now, we want a hard copy of this edition of the newspaper, rather than if it's just like the news is just generic, then like it's just waste of space, right? But there are certain current events, whether it be local, national, or international, like world stuff, that it's like, hey, you go out and get that newspaper, right? Because that's like monumental stuff happening there. Having those hard copies, it's pretty cool. We have like some. I think my dad's kept some of them. But yeah, I used to go with him. We used to paper bag the newspapers and then take them and drop them off once we were done with them, like to recycle them. But yeah, how do we get here? I forget. What were we talking about?
We were talking about.
Come on, backtrack us here.
I knew how it started. I forgot how it started. You were mentioning something, and I backed.
I'm trying to. It was okay. So the newspaper thing came from the phone thing because I was resistant to getting a phone that was full blown touchscreen, and then I brought up my dad, who also was, but now he just scrolls through and does the news. He stopped the newspaper thing. Okay, so backtrack before the phone, we said BlackBerry because I was talking about the one BlackBerry phone. Okay, so we were talking about this, and then I was talking about swipe texting, and then before that, I was talking about, I'm just writing this down because sometimes it is faster than texting. That's how we got there. Okay, we did.
That's how we got it because writing it down is faster than texting. Right, there you go.
And what I wrote down was it's happening again is hopefully you not having a panic attack with your second one like you have with your first one. So
there you go. Yeah, title.
Got out of the rabbit hole. Let's get back on track here.
Yeah, let's get back to my anxiety. 1, 2, 3, go.
Yes. Yeah, perfect. That's just fine.
Yeah. Awesome. But no,
so
I mean,
when did
if you guys haven't got it yet, me and my wife announced that we're having a second child. We don't know which one we are having yet. We'll find that out in a couple weeks. But we announced to the Facebook world that we are expecting, and we're expecting in January of 2024. The socials that we are expecting in January 2024. So definitely excited. Lots of emotions. Can't say that I'm like scared, but it's like more the fact that like, okay, you're gonna be having another kid running around more so, because even when we were taking the pictures of little man with the whole thing, and I'll put up the little announcement that we did, but Jen was saying, oh my god, it was so much easier doing the announcement last time. I'm like, yeah, because we didn't have a kid last time to run around and say, hey, take the picture, like because he didn't want to take it at first. He's like playing with all the stuff. We're like, dude, just keep it there, take the picture, and then it's all you have to do. And then he's like, all right, let me just play around with this for like 5 minutes. Like, no, so yeah, it was a lot easier last time.
This is where you insert the pictures that you are speaking of into the episode, so that if your kids now ever see all of these, documentation, right? That's one of the cool things that we talk about with doing this is like,
absolutely,
we don't write journals, but pardon me, if anything were to ever happen to either of us, like people could go back and watch on these episodes and kind of get an idea about like our personalities and like our passions and our love for not just music and dance, but like certain qualities of life that we really, really appreciate. Like I don't know, like our friendship is a pretty good one, right? It's been 34 years now, right? No, it's coming up
close
on 35. 35, because in 6th grade I was 11 turning 12 in February. So I was actually just trying to figure this out, like how far apart in school that Lil Tone would be from your second born. With Lil Tone's birthday being early August, do you think you're like, I don't know if this is even a question that I should ask on air, or like, I don't mean this to come off sensitive, because like I know that they wanted me to be held back. I know they wanted you to be held back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your birthday was July. Like mine was February. I was also being tested for being super slow. Like they were, like I was on that spectrum of being.
I mean, I was in, like the transition type of classes too, because I was, kind of held back for like the reading and writing, I believe. So, I mean,
I just was, I think, across the board developmentally very behind. So there was like definitely a level of concern with throwing me into like kids my age.
Right.
I've always looked back to that, and I've looked back at kind of like how my life has progressed. And I've always been behind the curve as far as like things that I was like, oh, I feel like that should have happened in my life a little bit beforehand, but I at least got to that point. Like I feel like I got to a level of like by senior year in high school, I was like, wow, I'm pretty okay that I wasn't held back. Like I feel fine where I am, like mentally, intellectually kind of thing. Not that I was like a scholar and a gentleman at 17, but
Yeah.
at
Well,
any
well,
rate.
here's something crazy for you. One of my kindergarten teacher told my mom that now it's either she's like saying like, yeah, I'll be surprised if he graduates, and she told that to my mom. And when I actually graduated from high school, she went back to that kindergarten teacher and she was like, yeah, so what? you know he actually
Dude, I wish
graduated, and you were the one that said he may not.
you took your diploma and you were just like, boop. Just bopped them on the forehead.
Right on the nose.
literally.
Yeah, that'd have been great. But I didn't know that at the time. My mom told me like a couple years ago. She's like, I remember her telling me that, and I think that just sparked more in her to be like, hey, that's not gonna happen. Not my kid. Blah blah blah. So she just made sure I always was doing the best that I could. But yeah, I mean, I had my moments and I had my, things of always being, because I was always 1 year behind. But, with a lot of people, they were saying like, oh, he may not be able to do this, he may not be able to do that. But then my mom's always saying like, look at you now, like you're graduated, you're doing science, you're doing this and everything, it's almost like the things were stacked against you, and now look at you, like you graduated college, you got your master's and everything, when people were saying like, oh, you probably won't even make it to you probably won't even graduate high school or something, or you won't graduate on time.
My reading and comprehension was through the ground, just terrible. I mean, when it came to writing an essay, like I had to process in my head like a sentence before I wrote it out. Like I couldn't just like think and write. I think I talked about this before. Like 11th grade PSSAs, we had to do like a writing section, and I was in a room with a lot of kids that were just kind of like, we don't care about this test. Like it doesn't affect our grades. And I was just like, no, I'm being like put up to a challenge. I want to be able to answer this like to the best of my knowledge. Like that was just the kind of person I was, especially because I think by then I was aware that like my elementary school wanted to hold me back. And my mom was like, nope. And despite my reading and comprehension, the other stuff were working. Like I was in senior year in AP Calculus, AP Physics, AP Government, Honor Spanish. The only academic thing that I was in was English. And it's because it's primarily reading comprehension, writing, organizing thoughts. So when it comes to like my creativity and how I want to acknowledge all of the pieces of the music as much as I can, like my stuff is very detailed, which in my brain looks great, but because it's not organized and maybe not aesthetically pleasing, it's where a lot of people would watch it and be like, this is very messy. This is like a little sloppy. And I'm like, that's how my essays looked in high school.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
And then
like, it could be all over the place, but as long as you understand it and knowing that, that's sometimes how you work out things, that it has to be like a lot of gibberish and all this. But then once you scrape off all the, stuff, then it comes into this, shell of what the product is, so then that's kind of somewhat what, the music production's like too. I'm always throwing a lot of concepts out there and just seeing what works. And then once I'm scraping off the loose ends, and then you get this one little packet of, product to work with, and that's the song, so there's a whole bunch of things that go into it. You can go a whole bunch of different ways with it, but, as long as you totally understand what you're doing, and if it works for you, then that's how you, work with it. I always felt that there's never not one way to do something. Some person might not understand how to do it the one way, where they found some way that it works better for them to comprehend it, then keep on doing it. There's always certain things that are rights and wrong ways, but if it's an unfamiliar way of doing it, but it works for you, go for it,
Right. And I mean, I'm also, I think right now in a place where like I'm working mostly with dancers that I have only worked with for like a couple of years. So they're not established to my expectation of like the demand for my creativity to be conveyed the way that it will make it look like quality. Because maybe someone they had before me was doing something like way simpler. Not a knock. It's just we all work, like we're artists. We all work differently. I've also done projects before that I was like, this is not in my comfort zone, and it's very like fun, loose, and like they've succeeded. And like those are the ones that remind me like, hey, don't be afraid to go that route, because it's not necessarily you're lazy because you're less complex. It's because the audience watching the piece is seeing something that looks aesthetically more appealing on the eye. And I'm like, I battle with that all the time with my creative. Okay, let's get out. Like,
absolutely.
I know, like we just by accident segued into that little mini music and dance talk, but it's who we are, and it also drives back to where we were when we were kids growing up. So,
absolutely,
Lil Tone being younger, I think you were telling me earlier, he's not like the youngest or the oldest in his class. He's like right in the middle, which is great. He's like basically on par then, right?
Good. Yeah, I mean, from what like his, developments are doing really well, and we've been not necessarily worried, but like always just making sure, since he was kind of born early at 36 weeks, we were always just making sure that he doesn't get fallen behind a lot too, and Jen makes sure he's always up to par with a lot of his things, and he's getting some things, he's still kind of learning out some certain things too, but I think it's just coming with age. Some kids get it faster than others, but overall I think he's doing really well. And me and Jen both had our times of like in school where we had assistance and help and stuff, so we obviously know if he ends up having that type of same thing, we understand it, because we had we had to go the same route, so it's not a problem when you need some help. But he's always been really creative, and he's starting to get into, like, he loves doing like art and drawing a little bit. He probably gets that a little bit from me, because I always loved like art and drawing and stuff. So he definitely seems to have that creative side to him a little bit. And so it's cool to kind of see little things of his personality starting to poke out, and you can start nitpicking of like, oh, okay, I think he's getting a little bit of that from me, he's getting a little bit of this from Jen, and so it's cool. So it'll be interesting and very cool to see how this next one starts to develop, and what things we'll find out from this next one is going to be like, okay, I see this in this person in me, and then this coming from Jen. So it, like, again, it's like restarting the cycle again, so it's one thing like you just got out of kind of the whole like well, he's starting to sleep through the night now. Every once in a while you'll have like a bad night, but then it's like, okay, now we're going right back into not sleeping much at night. He'll be up like or he or she will be up like every 2 to 3 hours, and you're just like going through the room like a zombie. And we're like, not looking forward to it, but it's what you got to do. But
Right.
again, I think we'll be more ready for it this time.
I think it'll be trickier because you're going to have the baby in your room with both of you, and you're going to want little one to not be woken up, considering he's an earshot away, right? Like that's going to be,
and he will, he will be up. I think we've come to that conclusion. He will be up every once in a while. I don't think every single time, but he's been the kind of kid where he's not a light sleeper, but he's not a heavy sleeper either. But I think if he's so into what's going on, any little noise is gonna be like, oh, what are you guys doing? Let me help.
Right.
And I think he's at a good age where he will be able to help us. So it might actually be an advantage point to us to be like, hey, get the baby's bottle here or something, or hey, watch him for a sec, or not necessarily watch him, but that would be pretty bad, but like kind of doing little things to kind of just help us to be able to do something. So I think with him being turning 3 next month, and by the time the baby's starting to really do a lot more this time next year,
he'll be essentially 3.5, almost 4 years old. Yeah, sure.
So he will be that much more, in tune.
It'll almost be, and I mean, it depends on your delivery and your approach and like what you want out of it, but it may inadvertently just teach like big brother instinct, right? Like, hey, I got to take care of if something's wrong. And as number 2 gets older, if something's going wrong, he might just step in and be like, I know what to do. Right. So like you said, it might help you out down the road. And when I say it might, I'm sure there will come a day where it will help out. And I'm looking forward to that, because and like, really, not to like throw anybody under the bus here. I know like you and your brother had like a good relationship, but maybe not like the strongest of brotherhoods in the world. But I think that that's something, maybe because you didn't have that you will like want to thrive for your kids to have. And maybe he feels the same way. Maybe he's just very like, they are going to be individuals, however they want to be. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's cool, because it's no longer just, you and Jen married, and it's not just you and Jen married with an infant or a toddler. And not that the 3 of you weren't a family. I think families just feel a little different when you have 2 or more. And that's me coming from one of 4 kids. I'm not knocking anyone who's an only child. Like, I'm not saying that you didn't have a family with you and just your parents.
I can see where you're coming from, because like when you have more than one, you have like 2 or 3 or 4, then it's like you're having so many different personalities in one house versus already having mom and dad's personality, but then one little kid that's just like, okay, we can handle one personality, but then when you poke into like 2, 3, 4 little small personalities, then that's when the fun starts, right?
Well, you're going to start dissecting like how one is more like Jen and more like you, and how one is maybe like kind of similar in that realm, but very, very different. And like I think my well, not that I know like my mom feels that way about like me and my three sisters, how she sees herself and my father and all four of us in completely different ways, like a lot, right? Um, the four of us,
Right.
we have some similar characteristics, but a lot of different ones, especially because, like I said, my oldest sister is 14 years, almost 15 years older than my youngest sister. So there's such a
Yeah.
big age gap there. And a lot of that, I mean, admittedly, and my parents will never be mad at me for saying this. It's like, and my oldest sister would never be. I don't think she'd disagree. Because they were harder on her because she was their first one, because she was like their trial, and then the second time around, not that they were less hard on my other older sister. That's not my oldest sister. But you know, there was some leniency, and then I was
right.
I was a terror of a child, and I know it from the stories that I hear, and I'm like, yeah, I could see myself being that way.
First boy.
Well, yeah, I was
Yeah.
I was running and jumping all over everyone. I was biting people. Like, I was not pleasant as
It's
like
kind of what little guy's doing right now. So
Yeah,
I know what you're like.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
and that, but
yeah, I mean,
like,
I understand. I mean, they were so used to having two girls around, then you know, first boy, and they're like, this is totally different, you know.
sure. And I mean, I mean, my my two older sisters are 4 years apart, and then I'm 3 years younger than my one sister. So like, my oldest sister graduated high school in 98. My other one graduated in 2001. We graduated in 2005. And then my youngest graduated in 13. So it's hard to, it's hard to say. Okay, let me put it this way. I as a, okay, I was 5th grade going into 6th grade when my oldest sister graduated high school. I barely knew anything about the world other than I knew I was going to middle school, and I was like, okay, what's going to happen next? Like, elementary school was just like a playground, and we learned some things, right? But then, let's see, my sister Kim graduated high school in 2001, and we were just leaving 8th grade, and this was 3 months before 9/11 happened. So,
And I was actually trying to be in the marching band for Sun Valley, and I actually did the graduation ceremony for Kim's graduation that night. So I was in the I don't think I played, but I was part of the drum line that night.
sure. Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have, I mean, information technology wasn't a thing yet. So like, we had no concept of the world around us really, other than what our parents were dragging us around to do. It was just like, oh, we're here.
Pretty much.
Okay. We were just naive to everything. Right. So
It's so weird how you, like, at that point you only had like a small circle
concept.
of what was going on around you.
Yeah.
Like now it's like we can see what's going on in like the world, or like we have internet friends that are like around the US or outside of the US. When we were in high school, we only knew the circle, or like a very small pot of what was going on, and everything else around was like nothing. Like we only knew like a small niche of like what was going on
We were
around us.
We were blind to all of it. Literally.
we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Twitter or Instagram or any of that to talk to anybody outside of our general area.
Yeah.
Which is like mind-boggling to think of now, because of all these kids in high school. They have so many options of how to talk to people.
So, yeah, I don't want to get into all of that either. But like watching my younger sister go through high school when smartphones were a thing, when social media was already super relevant in the world around. Not as much as it is now, but it was getting there. So she graduated. She graduated 2013, so she would have been a freshman at the end or June of 10, sophomore June of 11, junior June of 12, and then graduated June of 13. Right. So like that era of time, like I wouldn't expect my parents to raise my youngest sister the way that they raised my oldest sister based on the way that like the world moved. And that's just adaptability. So I don't think you're going to run into as much trouble with number 2 coming in January of 2024, other than you don't have a whole pandemic to navigate at this point, where you did initially, because it was in the beginning, which at that point you kind of lucked out, because and I don't mean lucked out, but I mean like you're like, all right, all we can do is be at home with our infant and our like growing baby. You didn't have any other opportunities to be out there in the world anyway. Like I didn't meet Lil Tone until the week before Christmas, like 4 months after he was born, because of that, right?
Yeah. And I told Jen that right as like almost before we, kind of, announced to like other people saying like, hey, you're not going to get the same, ride along with this time, because we don't have the pandemic this time, because she didn't work a lot. Everything was shut down. A lot of her job was just,
super
either
restricted,
working a small amount of hours and super restricted. And then she had maternity leave. And so she had probably one of the best and safest and relaxing ways to just be like, okay, I don't necessarily have to do anything. I can just sit and, let this thing ride out. Where now, she is working every day. She is doing like a little bit more movement. So I think that's where, it's a lot different this time, where she's having a lot more activity. So she's getting tired quicker. She's, starting to feel like, okay, now I'm definitely starting to feel this, or I'm starting to feel that. Where, last time we had the pandemic really close to it. So it was more like, okay, well, I'm already home, so I don't necessarily have to do anything.
Well, and potentially her being more active is helping aid her feeling sick more frequently too, because she's moving around way more than she was before. Right? Could be. Or maybe it's just the pregnancy itself is different. There's not really any way to tell, because it's just 2 different circumstances. Right?
Absolutely.
Wow. Dude, you are about to be a dad again, and I just want to extend once again. And I was in the mountains when you finessed the call, the video call, and you literally just turned the camera slow to Lil Tone wearing the shirt that said "Big Brother coming soon." It was 9:30 in the morning, and my one eye was still opening. Again, y'all, not a morning person. Sorry. But also when I am up there, I am up until sometimes 4, because you are just that at peace. Anyway, talk about that different time.
Yeah.
Extending my utmost heartfelt congratulations to you and Jen once again. I am looking forward to,
thanks, brother,
at least with COVID not being a thing now. And again, I think we just kind of lined up while we were dealing with technical difficulties. Like, yeah, we're not going to see each other as much as we thought we might. Between now and then. But I don't expect it to be more than 4 months, like the last time before I get to meet this next one. Obviously, y'all get home and settled in, or I don't want to be that person at the hospital. Like, oh my god, I mean, I can if you. I totally could be. But I just know some people are like, okay, I just want to be left alone, rather than some people want a million people there at the hospital. So we'll talk about that, I guess. And that's like,
yeah, I think some of the hospitals are still doing a little bit of COVID restriction with certain things, but I don't think it's as heightened as what it was when we went in. Like, we were the only ones on that floor that night, so we had all the nurses and all like everybody flocked into our whole room like when she was ready. So I don't think we'll be getting that same treatment this time. And at least hopefully, like, for my sake, we'll be able to go in and out of the hospital, because we had to stay in our room the whole time. Once little guy was here, they put us in the room, the recovery room, and we stayed there until we got out, until we were discharged. So it was like you were in like a box for like 48 hours. So hopefully this time, like, I'll at least be able to be like, hey, you want to like run over, I'll get you some coffee, or I'll do this. I can actually go out of the hospital and go get us some food instead of eating hospital food for like 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, my oldest sister, I think it was her second born. I could be wrong, but she went in, like, water broke, went in, and it was like thunderstorming. Went in, they admitted her. They're like, yep, you're in labor, but you're only 1 centimeter dilated. Go home. Like, they sent her home. Yeah. They were like, go home. It's going to be hours before we need to like actually begin the process of
I think
the
it's
delivery.
Usually like 3. Then they're like, okay, you can stay.
They were like, you're only 1 centimeter dilated. Go away. And she was like, what? My water broke. And they're like, yeah, but you got time. Get out of here. She was like, what? They were like,
yeah,
ma'am,
we don't want you here.
with all due respect, you heard me. Get.
Scatter. Get to getting.
Yeah, get to getting. Dude, man, this has been fun. Like I said, congratulations. Yeah. Anyone that has,
you, brother. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anyone that has any fun stories that they want to share with us, whether you want to drop it in the comments right underneath here on our YouTube channel. If you are listening on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, your Audible podcasts, make sure you hit us up. You can always email us at onestep@gmail.com. You can find us on our socials. Same thing, same handle, onesteppod, Facebook, Instagram. We're not on Twitter, not yet. If you want to catch us on Twitter, if you're a Twitter person, let us know. Otherwise, why? Right? Anth. Closing remarks. Again, like I said, congrats. And hey, thank you for giving me the forewarning rather than say, oh yeah, we're just going to dump him into the everyone finds out when everyone finds out category. That makes me feel pretty cool. And it makes me feel very loved. And yeah, if you or anyone you know gives you that little like, what is it? I think they just did the Barbie movie like premiere. That's the people that star in the movie get to see the movie before it's broadcasted to the world. That's how I felt when I found out about number 2 coming along. So I am stoked.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. Glad that you were able to feel that way. And if it were up to me, I would have told you a lot sooner, but we just want to make sure we were in the clear and making sure that everything was set and ready. But yeah, it was cool to be able to, let you guys know, and thank you for the congrats and all the love. So on the other spectrum, guys, like Jim said, hit us up on the socials, Gmail, make sure to hit up our Patreon. And if you guys want to support us even further, hit up our merch store, buy some merch. We got some cool t-shirts, hoodies, and we're thinking of putting out some other merch as well very soon. Just finalizes on some designs. But if you want to pick up anything in the store right now, go do that. And, thank you all for tuning in. This has been another episode of One Set. We'll catch you on the next one.